Ready.
Hi, and welcome to our presentation on Goldington Academy and the SEN provision which we have at our school. In terms of our context, firstly, we're an inclusive mainstream school focusing on year 7 to 11. We have a range of different students with a range of different needs from an SEN perspective. As you can see, we've got specific moderate learning difficulties, speech, language and communication needs, ASD, SEMH, and so on. At the outset, it's fair to say that all pupils are supported within the mainstream school. So, whereas some schools may have a provision of sorts or a SEN base as such, our lessons are essentially within the mainstream setting. With that in mind, it is all a very student-centered approach, quality first teaching being at the heart of that, and the graduated response forming the key element of how students are identified and effective support put in place. We focus strongly on parental engagement. As you'll see later in the presentation, the different channels for communication and support for parents that we have in place. And I think we subscribe to the thought that we are all teachers of SEN across the school. And as much as we've got a SEN department and I'm a SEN co, in the main, teachers will be supporting students in classrooms. At the heart of that is, again, the SEN code of practice. A bit of our context: 86 students on our SEN register. We've got 11 EHCPs at the moment. SEN support consisting of 75, with a range across different year groups. And when students move off SEN support, we still have them on a monitoring list, whereby we can monitor and see exactly how students are faring, and if need be, we move them back on. The team consists of myself. In my capacity, I'm assistant head teacher, SEN co, and also teach English. So essentially, it is a case of a very strategic role that I undertake. I've got 2 assistant SEN co's, Mrs. White and Mrs. Kassan, and they have also different roles in terms of supporting students in different sorts of ways. So Mrs. Kassan is mental health lead and also forms part of the personal development team. And Mrs. White heavily involved in terms of specific learning difficulties, dyslexia, is a background, and she helps a lot with the access arrangements approaches to our students. We have a team of learning support assistants. In the most cases, most of them are full-time, sprinkling of part-time learning support assistants, and we're looking at recruitment of possibly 2 more LSAs. It's fair to say that we've had a very stable and experienced, as well as very much qualified group of LSAs who've joined us over the past few years, and the team is embedded on a lot in terms of theoretical practices and implementation of that in the classroom. It's fair to note that the form tutor will be the main person, the trusted adult that students will see on a daily basis. They are the first port of call, and if you find that any student, if there are any issues that concern any students that warrant further involvement, then you have Mrs. Jones as head of year 7. You've also got the deputy, she's also the deputy safeguarding lead, and also working strongly with us is Mr. Atkinson, the assistant head teacher in charge of behaviour and also the safeguarding lead. We've got Mrs. Sanger, who works as the student support hub manager. So when students have timeout cards or a safe place to go during the course of a day, dependent on referrals from myself, Mrs. Jones, and Mr. Atkinson, then that's the place that they'll go to. When we look at education at Goldington, it is very much I suppose, a multi-dimensional provision, and the same applies for our SEN students. At the heart of it is ensuring that our students make expected or better progress. So ambition is something that we ensure that that's aligned for all our students, and we kind of look at three main parts as being central to that kind of academic provision, the pastoral provision, as well as the cultural element. With that in mind, the academic aspects essentially form or consist of work with students in the classroom. I work quite closely with curriculum leads in ensuring that the curriculum is effectively designed for our SEN learners. Work with teachers to ensure that strategies are deployed and effectively within the classrooms. My team of LSAs support again with students that we have on our register. I work quite closely with governors, and they heavily involved in the, I suppose, overall running of the school, but with a strong focus on challenge and support. And again, parents being very much core part of that academic process. From, I suppose, working with year 7s all the way up until year 11, where we've got mentor sessions in place. There's heavy analysis of data to ensure that subsequent flagging of students or staff, whether it's under achievement or lack of progress, and a lot of that comes back down to quality first teaching approaches. There's quite a bit of training that we undertake linked to quality first teaching, major focus on metacognition, a lot of it borrowed from the SEN principles and approaches. With that in mind, we've got lots of strategies that would have been, or that are being employed and have been employed previously with SEN students, that's now taken on a whole school feel. When we're looking at pastoral approaches, there's collaborative work with the assistant head teacher. I work very closely with him, the heads of year, student support manager, the mental health lead, in ensuring that if there are behavioral concerns, then we start looking at along the lines of SEN and start to investigate whether triggers may come from anything that may be SEN related. So there's quite a joined up collaborative process in terms of supporting students in that pastoral sense. It resonates beyond that because the mental health lead, Mrs. Kassan, works with form tutors to undertake what's are the strength and difficulties questionnaires 3 times a year. And this gives us some measurement of sorts of students' SEMH and well-being. On the basis of that, we can then look at triaging different sorts of students at various thresholds on the basis of those SDQs, and look at what support we can offer students in that regard from a mental health perspective. Could be it could be working with the student supports hub manager for a series of different workshops and sessions geared towards improvement of self-esteem, etc. Or it could be graduated to the MHST team who works closely with us in ensuring that there's effective provision on a slightly graduated process. We've also got early help, GP, CDC referrals, etc. And one of the programs, both from an extracurricular as well as a curriculum perspective, is that of the Duke of Edinburgh program, which we run as a timetabled lesson, as well as an extracurricular. So quite a few of our students do complete the Duke of Edinburgh Bronze Award as a curriculum subject. Beyond that, we've also got quite a robust and regularly revised extracurricular subscription. So the range of clubs for students is quite widespread. This includes sports, music, arts, etc. A range of trips and visits do take place to all parts of the country and beyond. We've got a gardening club, spoken with the Duke of Edinburgh. We've got productions that take place once a year, of which quite a few SEN students are heavily involved in. We've got drama club, debate club, ambassadors, of which, again, there's representation across a range of students across school. When we start to look at awards evenings and the range of awards that are presented at the end of the year, quite a few students who are on the SEN register very much form part of that representative cohort of students receiving awards. Additionally, sports clubs, music clubs, fun friends club is another aspect which we have, whereby students who need a safe space during lunchtimes can go to one of the classrooms, which is designated as the Fun Friends Club, whereby games, arts and crafts, and just a safe space to socialize with other like-minded students does take place. We do look at students aiming or achieving their full potential across the curriculum. And this is reflected in the support that is provided on a bespoke basis. We look at supporting our students across a range of lessons across the school and across various extracurricular aspects as well. When we look at our provision, I think the approach we take is that we're moving away from an approach that views learners with SEN as outliers that need to be catered for and taught differently. We look at inclusion, we look at very much inclusive classrooms, and sometimes when students are in classrooms, we avoid taking our students for lots of interventions. The evidence is that the most important contribution to improved outcomes for learners with SEN is quality first teaching. And this is whereby upskilling of staff, teaching staff, to ensure that our SEN students are best provided for is effectively what takes place. Essentially, we need our learners with SEN to have the best, to have access to the best teachers and the strongest teaching, and that's what we kind of advocate. So with that in mind, the quality first teaching forms the basis for that provision, and staff are given strategies via the pupil passports, which I'll discuss in a few moments' time, but CPD sessions, online course completion, and a whole school teaching and learning approach based on chunking down learning for students, for all students, is what forms very much part of our approaches from a teaching and learning perspective. So being able to scaffold learning, allow for differentiation and personalization of learning is key for every student, and mostly including our SEN learners. Our aspiration and ambition is quite high. So regardless of starting points and regardless of what's happened previously in primary schools, it is a case of we set high aspirations and ambitions. The curriculum choices at Key Stage 4 are, I suppose, geared towards one of ambition. And there's a wide range of courses available to SEN students to ensure that they in a good position to move on to the next stage of their learning. At the heart of that is the student. We've got the classroom teacher working mostly with students. again, utilizing the assess, plan, do, review approach, if we find, or if teachers find that through all the strategies and skills that they've been provided with, as well as the pupil passport approaches that have been given to teachers, that there still seems to be, after interventions from a subject perspective, there still seems to be some area of concern, and students are flagged to the SEN department, and that's where we start our investigation, and again continue that cycle in that assess, plan, do, review approach. And where we find that there's difficulties in moving students on there, then we seek wider support and specialist expertise. Again, en route through that process, it is a case of engaging parents at various points. I spoke with pupil passports. Every SEN student has these. It essentially has a range of information, a one-page profile, I suppose is what it is, that is co-produced with the student and the parent. That is then passed on to teaching staff as well as learning support staff and heads of year to ensure that the strategies that we have co-produced are being used in the classroom. These are live documents, so they're continually being updated, and it's monitored both at a SENCO level. So I'll go in and have a look at implementation of these strategies. The heads of department, or curriculum leads, as they call it, Goldington, will do the same. Heads of year will also monitor these. So ensuring that whatever we've decided to be the strategies for said student, staff need to make sure that that's in place. Pupil passports are emailed home to parents at each point of update, and it's also sent home 3 times a year when the interim reports and full reports are sent home. Aligned to that, the pupil passports also underpin strategies that staff can use in their daily work with students. We do have a termly review of pupil passports, or sooner if needed. We've trained staff with ADHD, ASD, quality first teaching approaches very much generically across the board within classrooms, but the pupil passports will have more bespoke strategies to support individual students. From a behavioural perspective, if we find that there are some students who are high risk in terms of accruing negative behaviour points, then there'll be meetings that will take place with the heads of year, maybe teachers, and there'll be SEN representation from my perspective as well. I think it's fair to say that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach with regards to behaviour at Goldington. Tolerance and, more importantly, reasonable adjustments to support SEN learners is what our approach is. There's strong links between myself, the heads of year, and the behaviour lead to ensure that behavioural concerns are vastly reduced. This does include weekly meetings with the heads of year every Wednesday, when we discuss students who are at risk of major behavioural concerns, training of heads of year, as well as monitoring of pupil passports. All staff, and this is from a teaching and learning perspective, we advocate certain strategies that lend itself to, I suppose, effective teaching and learning, but more importantly, support for students in the classroom. So that we have what are called non-negotiables that are expected to be seen in every lesson. So pastel shaded backgrounds of all presentations and PowerPoints. We've got printouts of the PowerPoints where needed for SEN students. We have a list of students who need sometimes printouts to be given to them. If students on laptops, and these are emailed to them. And we expect this to be taking place in all lessons to support students. A major aspect of, I suppose, the cognitive load is to reduce the content. And we've asked all staff, and we've been doing this for a good few years now, to adapt PowerPoints to avoid text-heavy content. Feedback from students indicate positivity in this regard, and we've made this one of the non-negotiables. At the same time, we've got learning support assistants in classrooms and lessons, and one of the things that we don't want is for them to go in blind into a lesson. And so we ask that printouts or lessons, lesson PowerPoints, or the resources for lessons are signposted to learning support assistants before the lesson. In addition to that, we've got the pupil passports and strategies for students. We've also got teaching and learning, scaffolding, or differentiation as appropriate. Communication-wise, we've got the form tutor evening, which takes place in October. This is where parents will have a chance to meet with form tutors. I will be in attendance at that meeting as well for a drop-in session. We've also got the transition evening, whereby you'll have a chance to meet with form tutors, and this takes place in July. July 2nd is the date touted for this current year, and I'll be in attendance after you've met the form tutor if parents need to speak with me as well. We've got parents evening, which takes place online. You have the ability to make an appointment with myself as well. Again, an online 15-minute meeting with myself is what I'll offer on the day. Additionally, there are 3 meetings that you're invited, or parents are invited to during the course of the year, 1 per term. And this is a face-to-face half-an-hour meeting whereby we'll discuss pupil progress, pupil passports, and parents will need to sign up for each one of those meetings. There's a drop-in session whereby the SENCO is available for to meet with parents. It's currently on a Thursday. It's to be confirmed for next academic year. And there's also meetings with form tutors, end of year as appropriate. In terms of parental engagement, we spoke with the pupil passports, but there's also the ability to meet with myself and revise those pupil passports. So for this current year, we meet on a Friday 3 times a year. We send out a letter, invites parents in, and parents make appointments to attend that. I'm available to meet and discuss plans for support telephonically, via email, or after school sessions. But form tutors are the first port of call, and I strongly advocate that that be the case, since they see students on a daily basis. End of year is also easily accessible and very efficient in dealing with concerns and any queries. Just a bit of Ofsted information. Obviously 2022 is when we had our Ofsted, and some snippets from Ofsted based on SEN are about feeling safe, feeling happy, range of subjects to choose. The arts, the music, the sports are all very much part and parcel of the experience, and I think it's fair to say that all leaders have very high expectations of all students, and the strategies are essentially deployed via pupil passports and quality first teaching. And the curriculum is widespread, but it allows all students, including SEN, to thrive and flourish in that regard. Range of opportunities, as we said previously, and the fact that all students have a careers advisor interview in either year 9, 10, or 11, sometimes more than once. But with SEN students, we also invite parents in to attend those meetings. Just a kind of overall summary of provision that we offer We've got some students who work on coloured books that's provided via each subject to them. Overlays as appropriate, fidget toys are issued as appropriate. We've got the SEN non-negotiables, which covers of support in a kind of widespread sort of way. The People Passports offer a range of support there. We've got one-to-one or group support through learning support assistance. We also undertake access arrangements testing so that students, when they come to GCSE, have in place effective arrangements such as extra time, word processors, rest breaks, read aloud software, etc., to ensure that arrangements are in place to support the best outcomes for them for GCSE exams. We support with trips as appropriate. We do dyslexia checklists and screeners based on requests from staff and parents. We complete EHAs and TAFs to provide support for families beyond the classroom. We've got external professional support in place, hearing support teams, and we do take on board at all levels student voice, and we complete student questionnaires 3 times a year to see what students are feeling about provision for them. Where needed, lift escorts are in place. We sometimes have escorts for some students as required. We spoke with Fun Friends Club for support, and various CAMS and MHST referrals. So there's a whole host of support mechanisms in place, and essentially these serve to support students in various ways, both in the classroom, break time, lunchtime, and beyond. Other aspects in terms of professional involvement, there's heavy CAMH involvement with MHST team at the school level. We've got early help assessments that are undertaken, as well as EHCP applications. From a transition point of view, it's worth looking at the school website because there's a section on transition which will give you sometimes increased information that goes beyond this presentation. You've got information on the layout of the school, as well as protocols for the school day, so that there's some familiarity, there's visuals, etc., about what to expect when you do join us. If you want to know exactly what's been taught in each subject at each in each term, then we've got the curriculum descriptors under the curriculum overview, and just an example of a transition booklet that is provided to all students when they join on transition day. On the school website, you'll find a map of the school site that will give you a better indication of where things lie, and hopefully that's given you some insight and ideas about what we offer at Goldington. Thank you.